Popular culture's negative view of African civilization is now largely seen as disingenuous, thanks to the work of genuine scholarship from around the globe. But we still have a long way to go as we continue to re-educate ourselves as Afro-descended people. The terminology of the so-called African mud huts no doubt carry an inferior model in our minds that we haven't really been able to shake. Aside from the fact that Africans all throughout the continent have an extensive history with building very elaborate stone structures, we've unfortunately abandoned the brilliant functional value and purpose of dome dwellings. What up, African World? It's Home Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and supporting this content. If you like access to full courses and sources, or you simply want to show your support, you may do so by clicking the Patreon link in the description box below. To begin, the purpose of this video is simply to highlight the value and ingenuity of the so-called mud hut tradition of African architecture. I'll refrain from referring to this construction as mud huts and call them dome dwellings throughout the video. And I'm aware that not all of them are perfect domes, but hopefully just this once you'll allow for general terminology. Even though dome dwellings can be seen all throughout the world, African people seem to bear the brunt of the demeaning labels. But to sum up this video, dome dwellings are a very effective and brilliant way of living on Africa's geographical landscape, and it served the needs of the people in full. Now, I'll be focusing largely on Southern and Central African domed architecture, so let's begin. In ancient Africa, as well as in other parts of the world, architecture was determined by the climatic conditions, natural resources, and sedentary habits of its people. African buildings vary from dome dwellings in tropical habitats, tombs and palaces and others. From ancient Egypt all the way to Great Zimbabwe, all of the architectural achievements of African people, from the simplest dome dwellings all the way to Khufu's pyramid, had to be planned and constructed with great skill and ingenuity. Houses in Upper Saharan Africa, or south of the Sahara, are the most common architectural construction, and their configurations and designs date back thousands of years. Most of these homes in the Upper Sahara are circular, a shape that offers a number of advantages to the people of the area. To begin with, the area of a circle provides more than 25% more floor space than a square with the same perimeter, and more than 43% more space than any rectangle with that perimeter. Beyond this, circular houses require significantly fewer materials than square or rectangle ones. Circular houses also have greater resistance to the forces of changing winds. In addition, they generally are easier to make. This was a very important factor for nomadic African peoples, who had to abandon their homes every few months, and for agricultural Africans who moved frequently because of land rotation. A notable circular house design is that of the traditional Mbuti home, which dates back thousands of years. To build their homes, these people of the Northeast Congo region first drive saplings into the ground. Next, they bend the tops together overhead, securing them with smaller twining saplings. This forms a dome-shaped structure that is covered with large heart-shaped leaves that overlap to form a waterproof enclosure. Dead branches are placed on top to hold the leaves flat. Once the leaves settle into place, even the hardest rains generally cannot penetrate an Mbuti house. The Shaga of Tanzania, who long inhabited the fertile slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro, traditionally construct beehive-shaped houses. Interestingly, the critical dimension used in the construction of these homes is the height of the tallest man known by the builder. The diameter of the house always is 2 to 3 times the length of that man's arm span, from the fingertips of one hand to the fingertips of the other. The circumference of the house is marked off by tying a hoe to the end of a rope and attaching the other end to a peg located at the center of the planned dwelling. As the builder walks around the peg, he draws a circle with the hoe. A number of architectural peoples use cylindrical walls for their homes, topping them with cone-shaped thatch roofs. The walls intersect the roof to form a circle. The major distinction between this cylindrical cone design and the dome and beehive designs of the Mbuti is the material used to construct the walls. In the dome and beehive houses, The walls are made of the same material as the roof, usually saplings covered with leaves or grasses. In contrast, the walls of the cylinder cone dwelling are usually made with mud, clay, or some other material that is plentiful in the area. Now, exactly how each group of people create these cylindrical walls and what they do to decorate them varies. The Kikuyu of present-day Kenya, for example, traditionally form the walls with a network of wattling that is fastened to posts and then daubed with clay. Mud is used whenever clay is not abundant. In contrast, the Hehe people of Tanzania construct a large, oblong structure with many large rooms. The walls are 10 inches thick and have a flat thatch roof daubed with earth. This type of construction keeps the structures remarkably cool in even the hottest weather. Another approach is taken by the Maasai, who since ancient times have constructed houses resembling covered wagons. The structure traditionally is covered with a mixture of mud and cow dung. Once the sun has thoroughly dried the walls, the house is clean and sanitary. Fishermen in the Lake Kyoga area also use local materials from their homes, which they construct with a thatch made of papyrus stems. The finished homes resemble inverted baskets and can be moved from place to place by canoe. The walls of many of these houses traditionally are whitewashed and then decorated with elaborate designs. Some houses have murals painted on the inner or outer walls. Other types of ornamentation are placed around doorways or on roofs. Now, of course, African architecture is not limited to dome dwellings as mentioned before. Africans had a number of reasons for their various construction types. Functionality and practicality seem to be the driving forces of said construction types. In general, mud acts as an excellent cooling agent, and the use of it in construction in Africa's tropical temperatures make perfect sense. I can only imagine how ancient Africans observed the elephant's use of mud to cool itself down in the hot sun and borrowing that idea for their architectural style. It simply takes less effort and manpower, and it just gets the job done. I can also imagine that once ancient Africans perfected this method, they were then able to move on to using their diverse architectural styles for religious purposes and also for the purposes to indicate elite status. Perhaps the most recognizable traditional architectural style used for grandeur and status were the stone building traditions at Great Zimbabwe. The site possessed dome dwellings along with stone architecture for the elite. This monumental architectural achievement gave a vivid impression of the splendor of Mwene Mutapa, or the Mutapa Empire, one of the wealthiest kingdoms of southern Africa. Built more than 1,000 years ago, it too represents a major triumph of African architecture and construction. While I'm all out, guys, I'm hoping that I was able to introduce a new perspective on the ingenuity of traditional dome dwellings in Africa, because its invention and purpose in Africa is often dragged through the mud. No pun intended. Anyway, if you like these videos and want to help out in its continued production, consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.